rolling.
Look at Luke getting everything going.
Yep.
Well, you called this special session.
Well, so this was supposed to be done prior to Father's Day, but we had some interruptions in our schedule, mainly mine. That
Your great luck with cars.
yeah.
We could do a whole podcast on Brian's car.
This sounds like I have like cars breaking down and stuff. It's more shops and
it's just bad luck you encounter there.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, some car issues. Had to cancel. We're back after Father's Day. How was your father? What did you do?
it was a normal day. So our neighbors, Brooke's best friends that we moved in right behind, they cooked us all breakfast. They had their dads over and had breakfast with them. So got treated to some breakfast. And then it was just kind of a normal day. Hung out with the boys and watched them do toddler shenanigans.
So they do Father's Day through their dads.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Well, actually, it was funny because Kelsey came around the corner and she goes, it's my day. I'm the father here. So, but it wasn't. They do double Mother's Day.
Double Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was good. How about you?
It was good. We did spend time with. Well, you just saw your dad though.
Yeah. They were down helping us move.
So we see my parents a lot. We hung out with them kind of all weekend. My parents, as some people know, they moved here. They moved, states here to my wife and I have the only grandkids in the family, so they want to be close to the grandkids, and they retire, so they moved. They live in a little suburb south of here, and they always come over. We have a lot of land to take care of, a decent amount. I think it's a lot of maintenance on the land we do have. So my parents come over and work their ass off weekly for me, and I greatly appreciate it. They always want to come. They always remind me that's why we're here. So Saturday, we did all just I say lawn care, but it's like 5 acres of lawn mowing and trimming and
it's all that. A lot of weed eating.
A lot of trimming. It's about, Dad and I both get after it's about 30, 40 minutes of trimming after you get done with the 4 hours of mowing. So we put them to work, and then Sunday they came over, and we just had some projects around the farm, like maintenance on equipment, 4-wheelers, and we try to do a lot of it ourselves, change oil, let Samuel get in on it. So we honestly worked from probably 11, and the weather was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It was like high 60s, 70s, sunny, and we worked till like 7 o'clock. Like, hey, we should probably take a break. Went in and grilled, had burgers, and just real low. I told him, I said, we can just hang out by the pool if you want to just us. I don't give a shit about Father's Day.
Yeah, it's a normal day.
I'm happy just to spend it with you and the kids.
Yeah.
And he's I don't care. But my dad's a tinkerer. Like he's a mechanic, so he'll start something, then he'll kind of organize in an area, and then let's get this going. I can pull off the swing arm of this 4-wheeler. We can get that. He just starts going.
Yeah.
And the guy he's turned 70, and he is constant. If you get him going, he is constantly like the people say like that guy. You can really grind. He could just go. He just all day.
Oh yeah, my dad's the same way now that they're retired. He was in the steakhouse business for 40 years, almost 40 years, and now that they're retired, like he has something. He's got to do something. So yesterday when I FaceTimed him, he has 4 cars. Now, did I tell you this?
I knew he got the Mustang.
Yeah, my dad got a Mustang.
Like a older one?
It's like a 97. I think it's a 97.
Okay. So Dad has no taste in cars.
Yeah, exactly.
Go on.
It's red, which is really, I think red's such a stereotypical color for a.
Don't worry, it's a convertible.
It's a convertible.
Yeah. Think how badass it would have been if you're in high school, though. Is it a GT?
I have no
It's like the SVT or something?
Here, let me pull up the pictures and I can show you.
On,
It
Cobra.
definitely looks like a
SVT
2006.
Cobra.
Anyways,
You could say it's a 2006.
when they were down here helping us move, we were going to pick up the U-Haul and they were showing us pictures of it. Or he called his old business partner.
Has he been into cars before?
My dad is just a very particular guy. So if it's a nice car and it's been upkept well, I don't think he's ever bought a new car. They've always been used.
Yeah.
But he's very particular, and he takes really good care of his cars too.
So my dad, we traded vehicles because they had the kids. They needed a car seat, so they took my wife's truck, and we had my dad's truck. And some friends came over like, "Well, where's your car?" So I was telling them that's my dad's, but he has this 2008 Chevy pickup that he got it from a bank. It was like, you wouldn't believe this. I don't know how long he's had it for a while, but it's like, you wouldn't believe this. The bank is selling this pickup for $15,000. It's 4 years old. It's however old it was. It was older than that at the time, but it's only got X amount of miles. One owner. The bank's selling it, so it's a steal. Yeah.
It's cool for them.
Yeah.
They're retired. They have nothing better to do.
They wanted a convertible.
Yeah. It's a fun little car for them,
Yeah.
I'm sure. So, anyways, I called him yesterday.
You told me it was a V6, right? It's not a real Mustang.
That is a V6, yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking about you the entire time he was telling me about it. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to tell Brian about this. But they now have like a 1997 Suburban, not a Cadillac. It's a Buick. They have a Buick and then a Lincoln, and my dad has a motorcycle now with that Mustang. So yesterday when I called him, he was out cleaning all the cars and stuff. So that's what he was doing. But it was funny you're telling me your dad has to be doing something, because when he came down to help us move the first couple days at our old house, we were boxing. There wasn't much for him to do. So he was out mowing the lawn. Every time I come, he has to mow my lawn for me. It's just his thing. And then at the new house on Tuesday, we moved in Monday, he was mowing the lawn. I had to go get my blade sharpened and all that stuff. And I didn't even want him to mow the lawn at the new house. I wanted to do it, but I was like, I'm just going to
My parents will offer, like, if I have to travel or something, like, we'll go over and do your, I'm like, I can't put, I mean, that's all day with just them doing it, But we had these 3 big mowers, and I was mowing. I'm on the kind of the lead one. We're kind of edging in one of the pastures, and right behind, I turn around. It's funny. It's right behind me is my dad, and behind him's mom. Like, we're just going through it. But they always like call us. We want to come help. But it's that balance between, like, I want you to come over and help, and I want to see you, but I hate that every time I call them, it's like, hey, what are you guys doing? Just getting ready to start some projects here. You want to come over? Like, it's constantly free labor.
Yeah.
But they're wonderful. We're completely blessed to have, like, my parents, Kylie's parents, to have parents like baby. When people's like, oh, we can't get a babysitter, it doesn't even compute. Like, I have, there's 4 people I can think of just offhand that would love to have the kids, and it's almost like when I call my folks, I hope they don't have something to do, because I know if I said, can you take the kids overnight? Whatever plans they had, canceled.
They'd cancel.
Done.
Yeah.
Yeah. They would, they're not bringing them back unless we call either.
Right.
It could be 8:00 the next night. We won't hear from them.
Yeah.
They're getting them showered. They're great.
Yeah.
So.
That's good to have. If my parents lived down here, they do the same thing. But the minute we hey, we have this going on in a couple weeks, you guys want to
come down?
Yeah.
They ever move here?
I think they want to. They talked about it a little bit this last time they were here, and I can't remember. Oh, it is because my brother lives in a town 20 minutes away from them, so their grandkids are right there too. It just kind of depends what the kids end up doing sports in high school and stuff. Mm-hmm. So if they end up deciding not to do sports in high school, then they're like, that'd be more of a reason to move down. But we'll see.
One thing that I said, this is when we were doing it prior to Father's Day. One thing I want to hit on, like, you know what my dad did for last time. My dad was a mechanic, and my dad's passion is cars. He likes hot rods. He likes drag racing cars and show cars. So, a lot of like anything post World War II up until the 70s. He can get into about, if I have exotic, he likes the exotic cars too. But he can get into about anything. But as a mechanic, he was working at a place called Waddell's in Salina, where he was actually working on cars and these guys, but it didn't make a whole lot of money. And when I was probably late grade school age, I'm guessing here, 5th, 6th grade, somewhere in there, he took a job. What'd your dad do? Like, with the interest, my dad made light bulbs, but not bulbs. He made like fluorescent lamps. Okay. The big long lamps that go like in factories and shops and stuff like that. That's what he did. It was not this, there's fucking nothing glamorous about it.
Right.
Okay. It's Philips lighting. It's actually no longer there. They're all LEDs now. So they closed that plant. He worked, now at Philips lighting. It doesn't matter if it is July or December. It's hotter in July, but December it's 100 degrees, 110 degrees. It's a glass plant. They actually melt the glass there. So it's this giant factory, hot as hell. My dad worked 6 p.m. Okay, went in at 6 o'clock at night, worked till 6 a.m. And he did it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, every other Sunday. So you're going to work nights every weekend. You get a Sunday off. Yeah. You get every other Sunday off, which, this crazy schedule. And I sometimes think people get the whole, like, you have to follow your passion. You have to follow what? Not really. Right. I had zero passion for making fluorescent light bulbs for us. Like zero, less than zero. He might have liked, the crew that he worked with, but it's just, he was one of those, I think too many people look at careers and follow people who have these really interesting, like you're so passionate about what you do and follow your passion. If my dad followed his passion, he would have been broke.
Right.
He'd been working. That's the trip. Unless he's going to open his own garage. How you going to get wealthy? Working on cars, working in a garage. It's a job for a young guy. He did that when he was young. Got older. He made damn good money at Phillips Lighting. Good benefits, good pension, all the things, because he wasn't passionate about making fluorescent light bulbs. Yeah. He was passionate about making a life for my mom, my sister, and I. Yep. That is where that guy thrived. And to this day, like I said, he moved here and that is his passion, being with his grandkids, being with his kids, and building a life. I get like goosebumps talking about it. It almost makes me emotional because I know how hard that man works. Had health issues from it. I mean, shit, you're working nights basically your entire adult life. Right. You're working nights. You're leaving at 6 a.m. 6 p.m. getting home. You're not sleeping for get 7 hours of sleep. Bullshit. You're getting a few hours of shitty sleep during the day. Yep. With kids coming home from school, you're hearing this. He would go watch me wrestle. Okay, on weekends, he would get home. Okay, on a Saturday morning, clean up because you're dirty as hell. Right. Clean up, get all the grease off. Drive to the gymnasium to watch me wrestle, go back in time to eat dinner and go back to work. Yeah. And just, it's not until you're an adult, you have kids, you realize he would say things to me, get a job where you're in there. You just get a job where you can work in the air conditioning, get a job, that's what he wanted, the better life for us. And I think there's just too much emphasis sometimes put on making this, life's going to be good if you find a career path that you're passionate about. Right. That's not there's so many trades, there's so many jobs, so many things like that. And I'm all for go sell insurance, go be an accountant, be a lawyer. Yes, to all those things. But there are guys out there driving trucks, mechanics, construction, welding, all those things, making damn good livings and having a great life because they're just hardworking motherfuckers. Yeah. And that, again, that's what you're passionate about. It wasn't, my dad didn't find his dream job. He wanted to make dreams come through for his family. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're touching on like a generational thing for sure. Those people, I just look at the world we live in now with like social media and the world we grew up in. I always say it's kind of like a checklist. We were told, get good grades in school, go to college, get a degree, get a job, and then, you're going to get a good job based off that degree. They didn't have kind of that same upbringing. And then you look at today's world with the social media and like follow your passion, follow your dreams, but like that's just not reality. Very few people are going to follow their dream, reach their dream, whatever that dream job may be, and actually have a fulfilling aspect of your work. And I see it a lot with just like the influencers and all that stuff. I just always think it's kind of funny with
even them though. If the people really making it in the influencing market, people think, well, they're just out doing cool shit. Right? Do you remember the amount of time and probably the team they have editing? It's like, I'm the trial and error, the failure. I'm hardly an influencer. I still cutting photos and videos and so I can offload it and actually do my job. Yeah. It's not an accident that those people you're following on YouTube and stuff, but there's teams of people working in front of a computer. That's not their passion. Right. They're in front of a computer doing it. I think it's a quick path to being unhappy because you think you should be doing this 9 to 5 that you're really passionate about, and you're not. Instead, you're at a job, you're at a career, right, and you're not happy as shit and skipping around all day because that's not your passion. So you're sad, but that's such an unrealistic.
That's what I'm saying. It's not real.
It's so unrealistic when people have done that for centuries and jobs have gotten better and better. Like I said, my dad's working in a factory that's 110 wearing steel-toed boots, right, and safety goggles the whole time for 12 hours. The break room had air conditioning. Yeah. But he had his passion. It doesn't mean like you just give up on that. He had his passion. He's still into cars, still, worked on cars and did that. You could, if your passion's hiking, it doesn't mean that you have to have an unhappy life if you're not a conservation officer. Right. Like, oh, fuck, I'm not a conservation officer. I'm passionate about nature and out. Actually, you may hate nature outdoors if you're first forced to work in it the whole time.
Yep.
Maybe it should be a hobby. I think that around here, people like fitness, nutrition, supplements is my passion. So it must be, listen, I love this business. I wear it on my sleeve. I do like the nutrition and fitness space and all that. But you have a pretty good idea of what we do here, what I do here.
It's not glorious.
It's not glorious.
Yeah.
And I think even, in our business, if whether they take retail, for example, where there's supplement store owners, and I think, unfortunately, some of them started it because they really liked supplements, but it's the old adage, like, because you can make the burger doesn't mean you should own the restaurant. Yeah. So you really like supplements. That's great. So you went from, you're working out with your buddies, you're taking supplements, you're getting great results, to now it's a job. And now a very small percentage of it is actually supplements. Now you're a salesman, a marketer, an accountant, a janitor, and you might be like, well, I'm fucking disenchanted with all those things. I love supplements, but that's a fraction of what you actually get spent time. I just don't think there's enough emphasis put on that. Shout out to all the dads that work these hard working, I don't care if you're in, wood, you name it, like the factory jobs, the hard ass stuff that kind of nobody wants to do, heavy equipment, construction that's paying good money, because like you said, like kids these days, that it's go to college, get you a nice desk job. There's money to be had, and there's, you'll go start a plumbing money, go be an electrician, see what kind of money you can make. Be a heavy equipment operator, you make six figures right out of the gate.
Yeah. It's an interesting time to be alive in that regard. And I think people lose sight of what's around them and how to really be happy. Like you said, they're always chasing the dollar to try and be happy. And you were saying with your dad, like he went and made a living for his family, and
that was his passion.
His job wasn't his passion, but providing for his family was.
Yeah, it doesn't. If your job, your vocation isn't your passion, it doesn't mean you're going to live this terrible life.
Right.
You can live a great life.
Right.
And if you
can take pride in it too.
I always want to be an entrepreneur. Nothing says you can't go get a side gig and see what that turns into.
Yeah.
But I think, people, if you're really passionate about taking care of yourself, your family, and building a life for them, and that's what you get into, that's really what life is about. Is being able to build a life around your loved ones and spend time with them and care for them. That's fulfillment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I was thinking my dad, he came back from Vietnam in the early 70s, went back home. I think he was going to go to school, but then went to work for one of his buddies who owned a restaurant, and kind of the rest is history. He kind of moved up through the restaurant chain. Sirloin Stockade. There's a couple around still. I think there's one in Western Missouri. And you pass one on the way to St. Louis too. It has a big bowl.
They're all big bowls.
Yeah.
I never ate at one, but I always thought the big bowl was cool as a kid traveling up on I-70.
So we always had one at the restaurant in Grand Island where I grew up, and it was that was kind of like our claim to fame, was we had the big bowl outside. And we put, you put your whatever language you wanted up on the sign. So sometimes we get it for our birthdays.
Do you think those are on eBay somewhere? The Sirloin Stockade bowl? I'd put one in the front pasture.
Doesn't hurt to check. Doesn't hurt to check.
Have a little frustrating day, go out there and grab the bull by the horns.
It didn't have horns. It was called Sir Beef Wellington, though.
That's still a bull?
Well, it was a cow, a giant cow marquee. Yeah. Okay.
So a little more specific.
Yeah, I didn't mean to misgender it. But yeah, talking to my dad about it, I think he's always actually liked being in the restaurant business. I don't know if that was his first choice. Because, obviously he joined the Marines. He said he was going to originally go to school to be a doctor. And then
same.
Yeah. he told me this story, and it's a cool story to hear.
We all just laugh because there's no way I'm smart enough to be a doctor.
He was telling the story. I asked him one day, it was actually when we moved into our first house. I asked him one day, I was like, what made you want to join the Marines? And he was on campus one day, and in the cafeteria, there were some dudes in the Army, I don't know, in the military that were on campus, and a bunch of student protesters came up and was yelling at him and spitting on him, and that made him want to join the Marines. So he went over there, went and fought in Vietnam for a little bit, and then came back, got in that business, and like I said, just kind of worked his way up in the Sirloin Stockade chain. Met his business partner that they branched off and opened up a bunch of different restaurants. I grew up
Texas T-Bones.
Texas T-Bone, yep. I grew up in a restaurant chain franchise. It's called Texas T-Bone, and when we moved to Grand Island, that's where basically we planned it, and they've lived there ever since. So,
was it just Island, Nebraska? What's grand about it? What made it grand?
No idea.
Okay. Is there an island?
There's two rivers that basically cut off Grand Island. So technically, like, it's an island between these rivers.
Gotcha.
So that's why they call it Grand Island.
The more you know.
Nope, the more you know. But anyways, when I was talking to my dad or just thinking about his life, he's always said he loved being in the restaurant industry because you just get to meet new people. You get to hear different life stories. And he, like I said, maybe he became passionate about it, but my dad worked all the time. Like, he was always at the restaurant. They had restaurants across the country. So I remember growing up in elementary school, he'd be gone for months at a time because he'd be down helping, open up restaurants or quote unquote saving restaurants from failure.
The story, like you own a business, I always think like, no, it owns you.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
especially in the early part of your startup business, like you can't make mistakes. You got to thread the needle every month. It's tough, and it's tough like that. That business owns you.
Yeah.
You got to be everywhere, answer every customer call. You got to be there when it opens. You got to be there when it closes.
Yep. My mom has worked for my dad basically her entire life. They met in the restaurant industry. So she went and worked for him, and I was talking to her about it the other day, and she's like, there are just ups and downs where you're hoping checks cash, all that stuff. So it's running and owning a business is a completely different beast in and of itself.
I think unless you're the son or daughter of a wealthy, you're an heiress or Harris, I think there's going to be ups and downs. You're going to have struggles, whether you're working for a company or entrepreneur. Like, that's the way it is. I think really, talking about dads is whatever you decide to do. Your passion doesn't, like I said, just doesn't have to be your vocation.
Yeah.
Make it about your family. That's the best I think takeaway I get, not necessarily advice, but takeaway I get from watching my dad, the way he lived and his taking care of his family. And, though I always think the best way to pay him, my parents wouldn't want me to parent exactly like them. They would want me to be better.
Yep.
And so that's the challenge. How do you I had pretty perfect parents in a lot of ways. I had great upbringing. And I think, like, how do you top that?
Yeah.
But that's the goal.
Yeah. Yeah. I always feel like I had like the American dream childhood growing up. Hearing my parents talk about the hard times, like there was never a point growing up where I would have even known that they were having issues.
Right. So I lived in had a basement, but I lived in about 1,000 square foot house, 1-car garage. I swear to God, I thought we were rich.
Right.
My dad is a mechanic. My mom worked part-time. I mean, that's part of it too. Like, the reason we live so frugally, my mom worked part-time so she could be home with the kids. But she was a nurse. She's an RN.
Yeah.
And I thought, until I get to a certain age, I thought we were rich.
Yeah.
It was just funny. It's all these like same looking square houses on one block, for blocks, and they're all extremely, middle class.
Right.
Maybe.
Right.
Maybe, but we had everything we need.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I always had people growing up like, oh man, you guys must be rich. Your parents own a restaurant. I'm like, nope, we're definitely not rich because they won't buy me the Nike Elite socks that I want for my travel basketball team, stuff
but that's
like
the only
that.
thing you really knew about. I remember my mom saying like they're, like, oh, we used credit cards. We're like, we did? There were struggles. Like, I had no idea. They helped. I don't think it was, we were never destitute.
Right.
But, man, they whatever the struggles were, right over my sister and I's head.
Yeah.
We led a great life.
Yeah. I say my dad was at the restaurant all the time because he had to be there to run it. I mean, managing employees. If you've ever worked in the restaurant industry, you get people from all different types of walks of life. You have people walk out. I just remember all the like little things that would go wrong. They ran out of this food. They ran out of this. So my mom she'd get called in and go help. And then towards the end, of running the restaurants, my dad basically got it to the point where he could just go back there and cut meat, and then he'd go during business hours, conversate with the customers.
Have managers and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's the goal. Yeah.
Yeah. So my dad is very good at cutting meat. So whenever they come down, they bring us some steaks.
Is he have any involvement now in the restaurant?
Nope. He just collects his percentage of the business because he sold it to a guy who worked for them from when he was like 16.
Just owner finance.
Yeah. So he bought into it, and he'll go in and help. Like if Ray he's going on vacation or something, he's got managers now, but he'll go in, he'll cut meat for him if they need help cutting meat. He's went in a couple times and just kind of ran the restaurant a little bit. So managed it. So
I've never been to Tyler's dad's Texas T-bone, but we did get to try when we were out in Denver.
Yep.
Very good. If anyone's in the area of a Texas T-bone, very
Colorado
good.
Springs. It was in
Colorado Springs.
Yep,
Yeah.
Yep.
Very, very good steakhouse.
It's I think looking back, it was interesting to just learn about the concept of the restaurant business. I got to go with him to close up restaurants, open up restaurants, be dragging a trailer with restaurant equipment in. So that was kind of fun to see just as a little kid.
Your dad probably knows. It was fun the other day. We were talking about, my wife and I were talking about my dad and his career, because we were saying, well, let's just go buy, I can't remember what it was for, but she's like, if we go buy a pack of these light bulbs, like, do they have an expiration date, or is that just when you plug them in? And I was like, you know what? For once in my life, my dad's, we know a guy who's an expert on light bulbs.
Right.
Dad, we always ask about mechanic stuff, and dad's actually can kind of do a little bit of carpentry, do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
But never had questions about light bulbs, and this is the one we need to get with him on.
Yep.
Yeah. If anyone has any questions about light bulbs, put them in the comments.
Yeah.
We will pass them off to Sam King, and he'll get your questions answered.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. We good? Luke, tell us, how was your Father's Day? What'd you go do for Papa Latham?
Well, I was supposed to go and cook him food on his Blackstone, some smash burgers, but we had a poison ivy outbreak in the family, so that got postponed. We had my sisters are deathly allergic, and they got it on their faces and stuff. So
Both your sisters did?
one of them has it really bad on her face, the other one just has it.
Okay.
And it was kind of rainy, so we postponed that and just went and hung out with him. Got him some concert tickets, but it was good.
Yeah. Your dad is a musician. He's a very talented guy.
Yeah.
I need to go meet him.
I've heard a lot about your dad.
Yeah. I don't want anyone to meet him because then they'll just like him way better than me. So
Probably true.
Yeah.
It's from experience. I know this.
Just from what I've heard. Yeah.
Not hard to like people. People like my dad more than me, though.
Yeah.
Really well said, Luke. Let's end on that.
Thanks, everybody. Happy Father's Day. Happy late Father's Day.